a lot of people hear about Bitcoin being, there's only going to be 21 million coins, and maybe they're initially skeptical of that, or they don't necessarily think that that's what generates value for Bitcoin. But I think like once you dive deeper into what exactly Bitcoin is, and you realize that Bitcoin is just a form of money, and society inevitably converges on one best monetary tool, and it does this via a natural free market process of converging on a specific tool with specific monetary properties, whether it's portable, durable, divisible, scarcity, etc. Over time, like more and more people are just realizing this is exactly what's been occurring, or what historically has occurred throughout thousands of years of history. And there's just been, periods of different societies converging on different forms of money. And like that's just been the history of humanity. And ever since, the invention or discovery of Bitcoin, society has been actively converging on Bitcoin as the best form of money. And I still think that, 99.99% of people have not grasped that idea at all. And I think even people like within the Bitcoin community probably, have grasped that to some extent and have a significant allocation to Bitcoin. But I still think most people, even within the Bitcoin community, are probably too bearish on what exactly this thing could become in the long run. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to be in the space working for, a Bitcoin only company and helping people, learn more about Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, hold it in cold storage, and enable them to, hold Bitcoin through the next few decades, because I don't think Bitcoin's volatility is going away anytime soon. Personally, I think it's going to get potentially even get more volatile. It's going to keep going up in a pretty massive way, and I think a lot of people that don't exactly know what they own, they'll continue to get shaken out, as we've seen like throughout history. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at today. I mean, you can take that wherever you want, but that's kind of a very high level overview of how I'm thinking about Bitcoin right now.
What helps you sleep at night thinking are we going to need more bad situations and crazy, is a climate lockdowns coming? What's going to help people start really step changing into this exponential learning curve of like, guys, we have the answer now. We didn't have the answer really technically for thousands of years, but we actually have it now.
Obviously, when you are in the Bitcoin space and you are like a Bitcoin maximalist, or you have adopted Bitcoin as your treasury reserve assets, like what Michael Saylor would say, you would be like, this is insane. Like the number one priority that people are talking about and concerned about and want the government's help from is literally solved by the least important priority on the list according to themselves, which is like surprising in the sense of like, you're like, wow, like we have the solution exists, the solution is here, and yet no one can see the solution that actually exists. And it's like, it's not even that difficult to see per se. Like if you just zoom out 4 years ago back to 2020, around this time, Bitcoin may have been, $10,000 per coin. Today, it's close to $70,000 per coin. That's a 7x increase in purchasing power in dollar terms in Bitcoin over 4 years. And if you go 4 years behind that, then Bitcoin was like $1,000. That's another 10x or so increase since late 2016. And so it's just fascinating to see that like people haven't been able to grasp that. And I think part of the reason they haven't been able to grasp that is just because Bitcoin is hyper volatile. It's still so new. And like over time, as Bitcoin simply just doesn't die, people are going to have to like come to terms with this thing still exists. The quote unquote experts that they've been listening to, the PhD economists that are going out there and saying that Bitcoin is a worthless tulip bubble, yet it died 8 years ago, and then it died 4 years ago, and then now it's dead again, but now it's at all-time high. I think more and more people are going to continue questioning the narrative that a lot of these quote unquote experts are saying, and maybe saying like, hey, maybe they're wrong. There's something important with Bitcoin here. And so I think it's like back in 2017, I think was like the first time that a lot of people like had their first touch with Bitcoin, at least from my experience. And back then you could write it off as the tulip bubble. 2021, similar experience, but 4 years later, and like people are like, oh, well, like we had this massive wave of fiscal stimulus, like the government was printing money, like everything was going up. So like they didn't really pay too much attention to Bitcoin either in 2020 and 2021. And then this time, I think it might be a little bit different, or at least like it'll be the third, from my perspective, third major time that like normal people within the United States get to see Bitcoin again, and they get to see that Bitcoin didn't die. And then simultaneously this time we'll have the Bitcoin ETFs out there, where we'll have Larry Fink of BlackRock going out there and saying Bitcoin is above governments, like buy Bitcoin because it can't be debased. Buy Bitcoin if you think governments are going to continue printing money. And that's exactly what, governments are going to keep doing. And so it's like this time around, I think more and more people are going to wake up. And I think the way that people wake up is the number just starts going up. Scarcity begins to reveal itself within the marketplace. The people that understood this before it starts really happening are going to, benefit in a big way. And they're kind of pushing up the initial wave of the next parabolic bull market. And then just the nature of Bitcoin is you can't make much more of it. You can only make a certain amount every 10 minutes, and every 4 years it gets more and more scarce. And so once the price starts moving up, there's no natural market-based supply response to, satisfy new buyers coming into the market. The only way that you're going to get Bitcoin from the market is to convince older Bitcoiners to sell their coins, which does happen in bull markets, but you got to move the price a lot higher from where it is today to encourage a lot of the older holders to sell out, some of their coins and buy other assets effectively. And I think that to some extent it's just a matter of time until we get into that next parabolic bull market, and we'll be off to the races.
You just tweeted out recently about Van Eck, and I've seen a bunch of people kind of tweeting this. Gary Cardone, you have there's numerous people I've seen, and just their prediction of, I think it was like $3 million Bitcoin by 2050. And you're just like, great, that's very bearish. Could you explain why you were tweeting that out?
If you want the answer to that question right there, and you like that spicy clip, check it out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. But if you want the full interview in its entirety, all the spicy clips put together, and you're not going to want to miss it, believe me, then check that out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. Do it.